Get Gaming.
Hello and welcome to D-Pod, your directional podcast brought to you by GetGaming.net. This is recorded on the 22nd of February 2016. I'm your host, Dennis Onderdijk, and I'm joined today by Jeffrey Huge,
What's up, guys?
Julie Elkvist Hansen,
Hey guys.
and Johnny Rogers.
Good evening.
So, let's get right into it. What have you guys been playing this week? And we'll start with you, Jeffrey.
This weekend I've been beta testing Hitman, and for the new release that's coming, I think in 16th next month. Not entirely sure, but the game is pretty decent actually. I expected a lot from the game, and the beta thus far shows great promise to the game. Yeah, for the rest, I've only been playing Counter-Strike Global Offensive because there's a new operation release, and I've been exhausting it to death. So that was it on my part, actually.
So, a new operation being released, what does that mean exactly?
You get sort of specific missions. There's you get a nice coin that you can level up to gold. You get missions, and you have to do certain tasks within the game, competitively, casual, deathmatch, and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty. It's a nice spin to an otherwise stale game, actually.
All right. Is that all you've been doing this week?
Actually, yeah.
All right. In that case, let's jump over to you, Johnny. What have you been playing?
Doing a bit of beta testing myself as well, actually, for the Cardfight Vanguard online beta testing area. We've just completed the third wave of testing. Right now, they're going to go back into development, and they'll be getting back to us about that relatively soon. Been streaming it as well, and on my Twitch stream, and been posting a few things on my YouTube channel about it. So that's what I've been doing this week.
All right. You haven't been up to much either. What about you, Julie? What about you?
Well, first of all, I've been playing a lot of Terraria, which is like an action-adventure sandbox game. I don't know if you guys have played it. Yeah. Well, I bought it like ages ago, but I saw it in my list, and I was like, you know what? I'll try playing it again. And I've been so hooked. I've been so hooked. I started playing it on my PC, and then I figured out that if I had to leave my house, I couldn't play. So I bought it for my DS as well. So I could play it when I was out of the house. I am not joking. But yeah, it's super fun. I think so, at least. I mean, it's kind of Minecraft-y, but like 2D and stuff. And yeah, I've been playing that loads. And I've actually gotten pretty far, especially on my computer save.
There's not an end goal to that game, is there?
No, it's not. It's just, I mean, there are like 14 bosses, I think, in total, like in the entire game that you can find and kill. But there's no end game. It's just like this huge, massive world, and you just go around and you can just dig deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and there's not really an end anywhere. So,
all right.
Yeah. Other than that, I have to admit that I have been playing the Political Machine 2016.
I haven't heard about that. What am I supposed to think about that?
Okay, so it's this like simulator that you can buy, which is a simulator of the election in the US, where you can choose to be Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump or any of these other characters, or you can make your own for that matter. And you go around in the different states and like try to win votes and whatnot, you know, like putting up speeches and discrediting, you know, your opponent, and you have to choose between Republican and Democratic and stuff like that.
So like a baby kissing simulator.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, I've been doing that a little bit. And the last time I played it, I lost to Donald Trump, and that was when I was just like, nope, you know what? Nope. and I put it down.
Well, if you listeners are listening to this and are hearing how ridiculous that sounds, then you know what the political situation in the USA is like. So there you go. Not to bring any political commentary on this podcast, maybe a little bit.
Trump 2016.
For anyone who hasn't seen it yet, I think one of the first things you should do after listening to this, of course, is go to YouTube and search for Darth Trump. It is one of the most it's one of the most brilliant spoofs I've ever seen. Like,
or refined Trump.
Well, it's basically it's Trump dubbed over Star Wars footage, like actual Trump sound bites, and oh my god, it just gets so good. Well, anyway, enough with the political commentary. We're not Dan Carlin, so I am going to switch over to what I've played, unless
wait. I have one.
You do. Oh my god, you've actually played games this week.
I know. Eventful.
Okay, so I heard a lot of hype about this game before it came out. And it's the horror game Layers of Fear. I don't know if you guys have caught the title. Yeah. So I figured I need to play this. So I bought it, and I've been playing it this week. And holy shit.
Have you been playing it right, though?
Right. What do you mean?
Yeah, like at 3 a.m. at night, all the lights out, with
yes,
your headphones on.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I did. Oh, and I had to take breaks. It's not... I mean, it's kind of like you're walking around this house. It's kind of like a little bit point and click and find items and read, and stuff like that. But it's not like you have these monsters rushing at you or something like that. But it's more like it's a jump horror, if that makes sense. Like, you turn around and then all of a sudden something explodes and you're just like, oh fuck, and you're jumping all over the place.
I don't like that kind of horror. The thing is, that's the cheapest kind of horror around. Jump scares.
The story is actually pretty good. So I think it actually pulls it off a little bit, like this game at least.
Does it give a Silent Hill kind of feel, or is it more like, oh my god, everything is just very scary type of thing?
Is it
it definitely lures you in. Like, you think you're okay, and you're walking around this hallway or whatever, and you think you're okay, and then you turn around and you're really not. You know what I mean? Like, you don't see it coming, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's jump scares. As I said, that's the cheapest way of horror games. The thing is, a good horror game has a certain curve to it, where you start out somewhat at ease, and then it builds it up, like atmospheric tension and the sense of unease, the uncanny valley, that kind of thing, until it builds up, reaches a peak, then it falls down a little bit. And good horror games use that curve to their advantage, like Amnesia does. I can think of PT, of course. Mm-hmm. You might not have heard of it, but it's the what was it? What was the official name again? Well, PT. Anyway, that was a prototype for the new Silent Hill game Kojima was working on with Guillermo del Toro a while back, and that was one of the best games delivering on that very atmospheric feeling, and that is the best kind of horror. Corpse Party. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of that, but if you haven't and you're looking for a good horror game, Corpse Party is a game that released on both PC, PSP, and PS Vita.
Oh, that game!
Oh yeah.
No, I kind of needed to do a bit of googling about it, but I saw some playthroughs on it. Yeah, it was kind of very of what the WTF type of horror.
Yeah, I think that is the best horror game I've ever played. The way it builds up tension, the general freakiness to it. Of course, there are jump scares, but they aren't as effective as they would be in a game like Amnesia, for instance, which is fully 3D, as opposed to the 16-bit thing you see going on in Corpse Party. The jump scares aren't as effective but they work really well in the atmospheric kind of horror, and it's just so good. I think it's I think there's even the sequel is even out on Vita. It's called Corpse Party Blood Drive. So if you're interested in that and all, go play the first game first. Because man, oh my god, if you really want to shit your pants, like I have nerves of steel, but even I put that game down at some point.
Fair enough.
All right, so is that all, or have you actually been playing more? Oh, okay, wow.
That is all.
All right, well, let me open my weekly catalog, I guess. What I've been playing mostly this week is Elder Scrolls Online. I think that's I'm saving the best for last here, by the way. So Elder Scrolls Online, a lot of my buddies started playing it a little bit more in a dedicated fashion, a little less casual. So I started doing that as well. It's just your average MMO, really. It's not that it doesn't set itself apart from that many MMOs, but it does do a couple of small things differently that make it just a little bit more of a streamlined experience. Apart from that, I've been picking up my Vita again. I've been playing through Conception 2, which I won't consider like a good game, but just the mechanics and the leveling, the way it works in that game is just really appealing to me. I've also played more of Persona 4 Dancing All Night. The same as always, just doing dances and stuff to good dubstep music. Apart from that, the thing I've been playing the most this week, like by far, which some of you people might even have noticed because it's up on getgaming.net on the live streams, is Bloodborne. And holy shit, Bloodborne. Oh my god. If Corpse Party is one of the best horror games I've ever played, like Bloodborne gets a very close second or maybe even a first place. Because I remember... oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I was asking, like, is it like I have never played any of the oh my god, you'll die type of games.
Oh, you mean From Software games?
But is it like the other generic clones, or does it give its own feel to it?
What exactly do you mean?
No, I mean kind of like what was the other one, like Dark Souls and stuff.
It's from the same makers, right?
Yeah, I understand, but I was like, does it give the same type of feel of it, or does it set itself a little bit apart from the different type of engine or game style, or the theme is a little bit better to you, or?
Well, that's both a yes and a no. Like, what's From Software has been doing, like for the last couple of games, being Demon's Souls, Dark Souls 2, and Bloodborne, is they've been following the same kind of formula, right? They have this game that is renowned for its difficulty, which we're actually going to discuss in my topic a little bit later on. It's renowned for its difficulty. It's renowned for its tension, for its fairness in its difficulty. And they've been kind of using that formula in every single game so far. But they do small deviations from the formula, as in the theme or the actual story to the game is different. Or they, for what they did with Dark Souls, for instance, is a very defense-based game. You use a lot of shields, and you learn when to block, you learn when to parry, you learn when to dodge bosses. You can't really block that many bosses. But Bloodborne does it a little differently. There are no shields in that game. It's just dodging. It's more Monster Hunter-esque, I would say. It's also faster paced than Dark Souls. I think it's a tiny bit harder because of the fact that you actually have to have quicker reflexes to evade all these attacks. But it's definitely a little bit more of a satisfying game to me, because of how the theme of the game goes, like the actual story, the bloody, plagued Victorian London thing is much more appealing to me than the dark, bleak world of Dark Souls. Even though Bloodborne is just as bleak and dark, it feels a little bit less lonely, I guess, and that just makes the game a little bit better. But it's... Anyway, I've cleared 3 bosses now, I've been stuck in one area for a long time until I started streaming when someone told me, hey, this is an optional area, right? I'm like, oh my God.
Body.
Yeah. The thing is, I was like stuck on that area on my first save file for like a long time. I couldn't get past it. There's this area called Old Yarnum, and it's one of the earlier areas in the game. You actually go in there, and there's a couple of new monsters, but nothing really special. Until at some point, this hunter starts yelling at you. You are in this game also a hunter, so he's basically like a colleague, but not that friendly. He starts yelling at you, "Turn back while you still can!" And all of a sudden, his Gatling gun starts firing at you from the top of a church tower. So yeah, that's why I've been stuck in that area for a long time. I couldn't get past that damn Gatling gun.
Was that the boss that I was watching you, like when you were streaming, or
no, that was another boss entirely. That wasn't even a boss.
Oh, because I thought that was another hunter.
Oh, or yeah, it was, but there are like more hunters in the game.
Oh, okay.
Like that boss is more like a mini boss. You encounter more of your hunter colleagues like through the course of the game. I'm actually stuck on one right now, another one. But so this guy in my stream told me, okay, all you should do is just like charge your way up the ladder. As soon as you get up like at the top of the ladder, just lock on and start shooting. Don't do anything else. Just lock on and start shooting. After about 5 or 6 shots, he falls off the tower, dies. You get his items and his souls, and you can finally do that area in peace because he's one of the few enemies that doesn't respawn. So there you go. I got through that, and that gave me like this sense of invigoration where I was like, okay, now I can finally get to the rest of this game. And after that, I did get through to like the other bosses. I already did 2 of the bosses. One of them you watched, Julie.
Yeah.
That was Father Gascoigne. I don't know exactly, but he was a pushover. 2 tries or something like that. And the boss after that gave me a lot more problems. Like when you almost get it down, it has like a sliver of health left, and then it starts healing itself. But I finally got this item, like a vial of some sort of liquid that I throw at it, and it stopped healing. So yay for me. I've been playing that game for like loads this week. I've been streaming a lot of it. I've also been playing off stream a little bit, not too much, just grinding some extra levels so I can keep like my progression on stream. But yeah, that's about all I've been playing. A little bit more, but not really worth discussing. So let's move on to our topics. And I'm going to segue into this one. Speaking about Bloodborne, I today wanted to talk about difficulty in games as a mechanic. Like how Bloodborne and Dark Souls, Demon Souls, and the upcoming Dark Souls 3 even has this thing where the difficulty is a mechanic. Where the difficulty is what kind of sets the game apart from the rest of the gaming industry. And it's also notorious. You kind of join this club when you buy this game and start playing it for more than an hour or 2. You join this club. You're on the same pilgrimage as the other players who've bought this game. You all want to clear this game. You help each other clear bosses. And as soon as you finish the game, you go kill each other. So yeah,
that's just fucked up.
Yeah,
it's kind of.
That sounds like a very good basis of teamwork. Hey, let's work together, buddy. And then the end of it's like, so you stole my items. I didn't like that.
You gotta die.
Yeah.
Kind of what it. No, you don't get items from killing anyone. You just get the satisfaction of killing them. Basically, you get a couple of souls from it, or blood echoes in this game. I keep making that damn mistake. But every single time, the first time it's like, oh yeah, I got some souls. Oh no, shit, wait, blood echoes. Because a lot of the mechanics in the game are kind of interchangeable with the other From Software games because they follow the same formula. But back to the difficulty part. In Dark Souls and in I don't know how it was in Demon Souls because I never played it, but in Dark Souls and in Bloodborne, you have this resource. It's kind of interchangeable. In Dark Souls, you have this thing called humanity. And humanity, the more you have of it, the more items you'll find, but the harder bosses will get. And also, if you channel your humanity into actually reversing your hollowing, so becoming human instead of having the humanity, players can actually evade you. Now, in Bloodborne, it works a little differently. You have a resource called Insight. You gain it from beating bosses. You can lose it in very rare occasions. There are some monsters that literally suck it out of your head. But it's a little different. As the more you gather, the more more difficult the game will get, because enemies scale higher and do more damage, and you'll find less items. But what happens is when you get more insight, the game actually starts showing you these weird eldritch horrors, like showing you these weird Cthulhu-esque horrors way up in the sky that are looking over you. I've never actually seen it myself in my own playthroughs. I've seen footage of it though, and it's really damn spooky. Because insight in this game can also be gained by using this item called Madman's Knowledge. And in the audio, not the audio description. I'm thinking about too much about podcasting here. In the item description, you can see how Madman's Knowledge is basically giving up your soul to dark powers, which means you see into their realm, like into the realm of the insane as well. So insight is actually more like insanity, I guess. But what I wanted to talk to you guys about is, do you know any other games that use difficulty as a mechanic? Not all at once, please.
No. I'm here. I was here mulling over the idea. I think, I guess arcade fighters maybe, if you do like the arcade challenges where they get progressively more difficult the more higher you go, like Devil May Cry, when you do the it's not an arcade game, but I was also talking about Devil May Cry, where there is the towers that you can do.
All right. Just a second here. Sorry about that. I had to cough for a second. But I don't think that's really the audio as God damn it.
All the audio.
Okay. Rinus, if you're hearing this, don't cut this out. This is gold right here. Okay. Anyway, that's not the difficulty as a mechanic I was talking about, though, because that's just a basic ramping up the difficulty as usual, as games normally do, right?
Yeah, that is true. But the thing is like Bloodborne and Demon Souls, Dark Souls, they're very unique at their genre, to be very honest. There's very little games that come to mind when those type of things happen. I don't play that much of those type of adventure games, so I wouldn't know. I think Julie or Jeffrey would probably be better to
honestly, like I'm thinking about it, and all I can think is like, what comes to mind for me is really just like the ramp up version, like for example in platform games and stuff like that. Like yeah. I don't think I've really played that many games that that work like that. Like not really throughout the progression, no. Not personally, at least. Like I can't really think of any other examples, to be honed.
And you, Jeff?
Same here, actually. So
wow, what a boring topic for this week, then.
No, it wasn't boring. It's a very good question, dude. But it's just kind of like it doesn't really come to mind, because like the game that you're playing, the game that you're currently playing is like, it's not to say it's one of a kind, but I mean, there's very little.
It kind of is, actually. There is this one game that's supposed to be in the making. I forgot the name. I just read about it, but there's this game that's in the making that's supposed to be following in the footsteps of Dark Souls, and it's being kickstarted, I believe. But this was actually more of a trick question, because now that you all notice the fact that, holy shit, we cannot think of any games that use difficulty as a mechanic. Now that actually shows my point. My actual point is more games should do this. Like, am I not wrong? Like in this case, like especially the thing is, now Bloodborne and Dark Souls and things like that, every From Software game is notorious for it. But
yeah, they're very popular.
Yeah, not just popular, but as soon as like the word Bloodborne is uttered somewhere, a lot of people go like, "Oh no, I'm not playing that. It's too hard."
Casuals.
Well, not I can totally understand, because a lot of times playing a game that's difficult like that is kind of like beating your head against a very pretty big brick wall. It's and you know you're going to break through it at some point, but it's going to take a while. And you got to get a harder head. You got to get better at breaking that wall, because it's the same thing that draws me to Monster Hunter, as I explained earlier. Is I think that this the way you progress in these kinds of games is to get into a certain mindset, and not necessarily by character levels. Like, there is a leveling system in Dark Souls or in Bloodborne, and that kind of sets it apart from Monster Hunter in that regard. But it does teach you, like, okay, if you get hit, you should have not been standing there, and you encounter a lot of enemies, enemy types that show up in a different form, wielding another weapon. So you have to like get used to their attack patterns all over again, but they behave kind of the same way. So it's getting into a mindset and training you to become better at the game as a player, not necessarily your player character becoming better. And that is kind of that's also how it ramps up the difficulty, is it shows you new things. There's some kind of unique mechanic. I know that a lot of games have a new game plus, but Bloodborne has a new game plus, a new game plus 2, a new game plus 3, all the way up to 6. And every single time the monsters learn new attacks, and they get a little faster, and your healing items do less, and you need more blood echoes to level, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking more games should do this, and not necessarily the new game plus things, but I mean more like using that difficulty and using it to your advantage. Even work it into the narrative, maybe. I'm not sure actually how to do this. I'm not here to give advice, but I am here to give you food for thought. So if you listeners are if you want to talk to us about games that involve difficulty as a mechanic, do write in. We'll give you the address at the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
That's all from my topic.
All right.
All right.
So next we're having is Jeffrey. Let's go.
All right. My topic for this week is about the benefit or potential drawback of having a self-sustained mod community. Now, let's take a look for it. Let's take Counter-Strike Source for an instant. There's a lot of custom content for it, for example, on Game Banana, and also a lot of stuff for other games such as Half-Life, Garry's Mods, pretty much any game that uses the Source engine and maybe other engines, but I'm more familiar with Source, so I use that as an example. And you have the freedom to modify any aspect of the game, the UI, complete map retextures, custom weapons with custom animations, player models, while in CSGO, for example, you only have the workshop, lots of content, but only the game devs decide what goes into the game and what gets rejected. And the only real modification in this case, is the weapon aesthetic. So I was wondering what your opinions are on those two things, and whether you prefer the workshop or the mod community approach.
I think like the only mod community that I probably am well aware of is, I guess, the CS:GO community, and maybe Minecraft, since they have their own little. And there was like Skyrim at some given point in time back in 2015 or 14.
Oh, Skyrim is a whole different can of worms. We'll talk about that.
No, but I mean, like, right there.
Yeah, they have mods. I mean, like, if we're on the topic of mods, that's kind of like a generalized thing so far. Like, I guess we can go in depth with it, but that's like, if we're talking about mods, if you should be more close to the community or apart from them, or be more closer to the developers, or no? Or am I?
Counter-Strike Global Offensive uses a workshop where people only can like post skins and maps. But in the previous game, in Counter-Strike Source, you could change any aspect of the game, the UI, and you could make the game your own pretty much. So yeah, the workshop approach is just that the game developers decide what gets into the game, or a self-sustaining mod community where you have control over every aspect of the game.
Well, I personally think that we're better off with the community-driven mods, because there are a lot of talented people out there that actually get recruited as like asset developers or texturers, that kind of thing. And the thing is, we saw how it turned out when Steam was like, okay, let's introduce paid Steam mods, paid Skyrim mods to be specific. We all
Yep.
saw how that turned out, and that was a huge backlash. And I'm kind of saying that it did things wrong, but the thing with Skyrim is, if you go to the Nexus mods community, which is arguably the biggest mod community out there, and it's so full of everything you could possibly imagine. You can play Skyrim with an AK-47, or you could make it your own personal sex simulator if you wanted to. Like all the mods are there. No, but go look at the top listings on the Nexus mod sites. There are like a ton of them. Like it's so bizarre, and I guess I guess that a lot of people are programming their own niche things into the game. I mean, there are a lot of people that, for instance, one of my favorite mods for Skyrim was the alternate beginning mod, because I hated the opening. I absolutely hated the opening. I hated sitting in that cart and going like, okay, well, it's going to take me about 10 minutes until I actually get control over my character, plus like 4 hours for character creation. So every time I start a new character, I had to go through that same old story again. So there was this alternate beginning mod that you had to pick a beginning, and you could be like an Altmeri Dominion agent, or you could be a father whose family was killed by a dragon, that kind of thing. That's the amazing things we can do. And not to discredit the game writers here, but a lot of people have these great ideas that they can only express for a game when they use creation tools like the Garden of Eden creation kit, the GECK for Fallout, which is coming out pretty soon, I believe. And for Skyrim, I don't know exactly what it was called, but something similar. And that kind of thing is the only outlet for these people to express their ideas and to give their content to the world. There's so much to be done and to be modified.
Yeah,
I
agree.
I can actually relate to your to your character creation problem that you had to sit in that car. I actually saved before the point that you can start creating your character. Just when if I had to start over. Just that you get pulled forward and you get to give your name and design your character. I saved exactly before that point, so I didn't have to sit through that annoying 50-minute cutscene.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Like, well, it's not the exact point I'm trying to make, but it's more like that's a good example of what people maybe can do better.
I agree as well. Like, I'm definitely rooting for the fanboys and girls and the community to be able to make, mods and stuff like that. I think it adds a lot to the game, and I mean, you can choose as a player if you're playing, an online game or whatever. You can choose if you want to use these mods or not. No one's forcing them on you, but they're there if you want it.
Online games are a different case, I think.
Well, online or not, I mean, the mods are out there. You can get them if you want, but no one's forcing it on you. You know what I mean?
Well, I think like an online game is something entirely different, because there, especially for an MMO or something like that, you have to consider things like balancing. And you can't balance for mods, and you can't balance. You can't mod like a server-based game. You can't do that.
Well, no, but then we're over on like modifications like that falls under add-ons like redesigning the UI and stuff like that Jeffrey brought up. Which does not actually, do anything for the gameplay in itself, but only your personal,
like song files and stuff like that, and like different maps or just aesthetic things.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, even aesthetic things, I believe, are illegal in most end-user license agreements. It's
in CSS, you could go online with your mods and they would actually show up in the game for others as well. But in CSGO, you can join official servers if you mod your game. You can get fact banned for that, actually.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. And I think game developers kind of have a point, especially when it's a game like CSGO that has $1 million tournaments. I think it's important that they balance the game and fine tune it to a point where they have complete control over the thing and not put it into modders' hands.
Yeah, you do bring up a good point, because in CSS people use texture hacks, which basically made every texture in the game transparent, so you could see through walls and shit.
See, that's what I mean. Like, of course, there are some things like you could allow. You could allow things like voiceover packs, but then on the other hand, most companies actually want to sell those themselves, so they won't let users create them.
Call of Duty Ghosts.
I believe Snoop Dogg wasn't that one, right?
Yep, Snoop Dogg voiceover pack.
Wasn't that like
Actually quite brilliant though?
But what wasn't it like $20 though?
It's $2.99.
Oh, Jesus!
Oh,
That's actually pretty good.
That's a little
I
less.
actually-
That's about 18
I
bucks
would-
less.
I would pay $2.99 to hear Snoop Dogg say like multi-kill, yo, that kind of thing.
I actually bought the voiceover pack, and it's worth every penny. Trust me.
Basically, like double kizzle for shizzle.
That's
And,
like, if you save your teammate, he says something like "a brother from another mother" and stuff like that. It's so brilliant.
There's actually like a crowdfunding campaign going on for him to narrate Planet Earth.
Planet Earth. Yeah, I shared that on Facebook earlier. I would so watch that.
Yeah, if you want to watch that, then donate for the crowdfunding project.
I could do that, but yeah, the funds are tight. So
Oh yeah, and probably on the other hand, we are Dutch. We could probably just like bribe him with a bag of weed, I guess.
Yeah.
that would work. That would most likely work.
that would totally work, probably. Just
Ooh,
give him
piece
a
of
hat.
weed. Ooh, piece of
bag.
weed, and then have like a box with a stick and a piece of string,
And they ask where he is. He'd be like, "We have top men handling this."
and then as soon as you lift the box, there's this giant smoke plume, that kind of thing. Well,
Wow.
I think we've exhausted this topic. What about you, Johnny?
Discussing about the whole like modding Dark Souls and stuff like that. I was wondering like how you guys feel. Like, you guys seen Deadpool yet? Anybody seen Deadpool yet?
Nope.
I've seen Deadpool.
Oh, nice.
Not yet.
And that kind of reminded me, like, hey, they brought out a game 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which a whole lot of users like didn't like a lot. They found the jokes really funny, which it gave a good homage to Deadpool as a character. But it's like, how do you guys feel about movie games and games from movies, like vice versa, more or less?
Well, there are a couple of good examples for this. Like the Resident Evil movies are not that bad. And I, for
True.
one, would like to see something like a Metal Gear Solid movie, though I think Konami would just fuck it up probably. But no, I would love to see something like that. And, well, Deadpool was kind of a bad example because the humor felt a little stretched. It's hard, as we discussed before, like it's hard to do humor in games right. And what you can do for an action game like that is record like maybe 250 or maybe 500 quips, like little one-liners, but they get old after a while and they start to repeat. So, especially for something like Deadpool, which is based on humor, like we can write off the comedy genre for movie games, basically.
Yeah, but I think like Deadpool is a very specific specific example.
Specific.
No. It was
when
it
it
was
comes
like
to
a
like humor and
specific
stuff.
example. It was kind of like, it was not really a thing to humor. It was just kind of like to get something started. Like, what do you guys think in general of movie games, and not just Deadpool being a game? I was just referencing it because there's like about up to 10 games more or less that came out that were pretty good, like Lara Croft's Tomb Raider. Dennis was saying Resident Evil, which came out pretty good. Silent Hill was a pretty okay movie as well.
Holy shit, there's a Silent Hill movie?
There's a Silent Hill movie.
didn't
Came out in
know?
2009.
Why did I get sold this thing? Wow. Wow.
No.
I think it came out like in between 2009 2011.
Holy shit.
There was like Agent 47, which came out in 2012, 2013 as well. Don't ask me why I know all these things, but
Well, we have two. We have two of them coming. Actually, we have two very big movie releases coming from the video game
Warcraft.
industry. Yeah, exactly. World of Warcraft, and we have the Assassin's Creed movie.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's kind of like I wanted to kind of get an aspect. So I was in a topic discussing this with a friend of mine as well, and it was kind of like his own point of view was his exact words, quote from him, that he found that the production studio that creates the game should work closer with the production studio that makes the movie, and vice versa.
That
So
is a
like
good idea.
Yeah, yeah.
so like the writers, the screenwriters, the voice actors and actors are basically they're paid for the job. They already know what they got to do. It's up to producers and executive producers to be able to bring out the content for us to review it. And like screening should be like one of the major parts and the larger parts of their production. So having those done is very important.
The
As
thing
well.
is kind of like video game development is very, very different from movie writing. There are a lot of people who have these great scenes in their heads, but they don't translate well into video games, or they don't translate well into movies. The
Well,
thing
of
is,
course.
go ahead.
No, I mean, of course, it's kind of like there's limitations to what video games and what movies can do. Budgets, um, like basically more or less is the budget and what technology is capable of doing, CGI and stuff like that. So yeah, you're right on that front. Sorry, go on.
Well, let's be honest here. Things like Bioshock Infinite will make a great movie. It's very cinematic.
Mhm.
It's actually very light on the gameplay. Like a lot of
Yeah.
it is cinematic, so why not make it into a movie? The same thing goes for Assassin's Creed. The gameplay is kind of repetitive, so in a movie you can. Well, no, it kind of is. Let's be
True,
honest.
Yeah.
you could basically freestyle on it and kind of blockbuster it a bit and add a
Yeah,
little bit of kick.
you can blockbusterize it. And the thing is, like, especially, there's one example that does come to mind, and I don't know kind of if this counts or not, but one good example that does come to mind is South Park: The Stick of Truth, where the entire South Park crew worked so closely with the developers of the game. I forget the developer. I'm very sorry. I like your game. Don't hate me, but
But
I
it was kind of like the South Park crew themselves. They'd push for the game, didn't they?
yeah, they Matt Stone and Trey Parker actually worked very closely on this project, and
And
they
they're
said that,
coming out with a new game this year.
yeah, they are,
Yeah.
and I'm looking forward to it very much because
Me too.
that entire game felt like one big episode of South Park. I actually can't believe it came out like 3 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
It was
But
it was a great
brilliant.
game.
Yeah.
I thought it was so good, and the way that exactly the point you brought up being that if the studio works very closely with the development studio for the video game, that they could make something brilliant like the Stick of Truth did.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, for example, the Warcraft movie that's coming out this summer. Obviously, it hasn't come out yet, so I can't speak. I can't say anything because I haven't seen it, obviously. But at the same time, when it got released, the information that they were doing a movie and all this kind of stuff at BlizzCon, the Blizzard crew made a very big deal out of pointing out that they were on this. They had not just given over all the rights to some company and just told them to make a movie. They were there every part of the process and working with their developers and the movie producers to make sure that their vision for the movie was definitely portrayed and that it didn't get lost in translation, basically.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
And that can be a big issue sometimes when those type of games come out. It's kind of like, or the portrayal of this main character was supposed to be a little bit more stoic, a little more aggressive and stuff like that, and they just make him into a total emo douchebag, and it kind of comes over very poorly to the viewers who are diehard fans.
Yeah.
Look
Yeah,
at you.
I'm pretty
No.
sure to satisfy the diehard fans of South Park that they really had a close look on exactly what was happening with the development of the game. And like Dennis said, it really felt like one big South Park episode. It was so well done and so well put together, and it has a great replay value as well. So I think a lot of developers can learn from this.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Like, you can craft something very nice. And However, there are some things you should not make into a movie. Things like Animal Crossing doesn't work. Things like Bloodborne doesn't work. You have to. No, blood.
Maybe, I don't know. I can
No.
see it like in a world in Victorian time.
No. I can explain to you exactly why it would not work.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. In Bloodborne, or basically in any From Software game, the story is there. However, it is implied, not explicit. You have to piece it together yourself from item descriptions, from NPCs you find hidden away in some corner, from guys you free, or from context. There is no explicit storytelling in that. And that's very important to the atmosphere, very important to how the game plays and how the game feels. The world feels like a mystery, and that is exactly what's supposed to happen. A Bloodborne movie would be incredibly boring because there would be no narrative to it. Because the protagonist is silent as well. That doesn't work well in movies.
The Silent Hill movie. Well, you haven't seen it yet. Never mind.
Yeah. So don't you fucking spoil that shit, man. I gotta see that shit.
Okay. Well, basically, the faults and flaws that you were pointing out for this type of thing was done before. It was done. Nothing was really implied.
Plus, what I told you before, like a large part of the Bloodborne experience is the difficulty, and there's no difficulty in a movie.
But
Dang.
then you can.
Well, there could be. There could be.
What?
I don't know exactly how, but
What?
you have to
Just
throw like a
watching the
couple of.
protagonist die a couple of times. And
Yeah, until you
resurrect.
throw until you that kind of thing, like dying over and over until you like throw a couple of kernels of popcorn into a target or something. I don't know.
Yeah, when like half the movie theater has gone up and just left, that's when it continues.
Yeah, that's what like New Game Plus unlocks. Holy shit, that would be like the best movie experience ever, though. Like kind of a meta movie where not the thing you've seen like before, where this entire audience gets a multiple choice box and goes like, would you like the protagonist to say no, yes, fuck you, or just say silent?
That would be awesome, though.
No, that actually has been done, and it flopped horribly because the thing is, what happens when a character when you make a choice but you're in a minority, so the character doesn't make that decision. You're like, fuck, I didn't want to see this outcome. This protagonist is fucking boring. And guys like me will go in there with like 10 friends and just vote every single time with just stay silent, like you would in, for instance, The Walking Dead or something like that.
No, okay, you bring up a good. I mean, the idea itself sounds pretty interesting, but indeed, the what if your choice isn't the outcome, then you're pretty bummed.
Not just that, but we already have interactive movies. You know what they're called?
No idea.
Video games.
Wow.
Go play those.
Wow.
Armaglab.
Go play those. Don't try and bring it into that, but it would kind of be cool if the theater just played a loop of a Bloodborne protagonist just dying 5 times in a row, and people like, and the exact same footage as well, like dying on the exact same attack, and people like, fuck this movie, I'm out of here. But the people who actually played the game would be like, I wonder if he tries this next, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't work well in Bloodborne. No.
No, I don't.
Anyway, Julie, how about you? You have a topic for us as well.
I do. Well, what I was thinking about this week.
You were
was
thinking this week? Oh my!
I know.
Shots.
Shots fired. Professional video game review scales, and whether they're as relevant as we think they are. Really, what I discovered this week was a article in Game Rant, where an editor named Riley Little had written an article about review scales and what he thought of them. And he specified that he doesn't disagree with the scores that games are given. However, it's how reviewers are using the scales to actually review the game. Because from what he's saying is that anywhere from around like 70 to 79% means that the title is solid, it's entertaining, but maybe a few issues. Meanwhile, 80 to 89%, it traditionally means that, the game is worth checking out. And anything higher than that is like almost Game of the Year candidate. And software that finds itself outside of those ratings, however, probably isn't worthwhile in any form. So with like 50 to 69% ratings being viewed as incredibly poor in quality. And that leaves like half the scale is not being used.
Yeah, exactly.
We're talking about a scale where reviewers are using, from the 50 percentile and upwards, and the downside is not being used at all. And an example that he pointed out, the editor of this article, was that the current Metacritic score for the PlayStation 4 version of Watch Dogs, which is the title that many of the critics agreed were falling short from, the ambitions that it promised, it's sitting at 80%, while the very critically praised Fallout 4 is on 87% on the same platform. That's only a 7% difference between, a game that is meh, basically, and a game that is, being praised. So some sites like Eurogamer, for example, have completely discarded the system because, games have changed. It's not as easy to review games anymore in the same way because some games, they're early access. Maybe the game is not completely finished yet when they're being reviewed. Online multiplayer games, for example, they're not really able to review them at the full potential when they're not playing with, the amount of other people that they should be playing against and such things. And they've swapped to recommended, essential, and avoid.
By the way, I want to interrupt you there for a second. I personally think that early access games should not goddamn be reviewed. They should maybe be discussed, but they should not be reviewed.
H1Z1.
Well, H1Z1 basically split up into two games.
Yeah, true. But it was so early access. You only had PvE at one point, and some guy reviewed it and gave it a bad score.
Street Fighter as well.
And then the Battle Royale feature came, and then it was praised. And I think you should just not review early access games at all.
I think early access games are kind of a bad thing inherently, but that's maybe a topic for next week. We still have a topic to tackle here. We're not going to segue into that or anything. I'm trying to not go on a tangent for a change.
But that's like the problem, though, in the business, because you have all these, professional reviewers, basically, that are working for these different websites, magazines, whatever medium. And, they're getting a copy of this game and they're like, okay, you have to review this. And they have to review it within like a certain time set. And they can't help it if they're getting the game at this and this time period, basically. And they'll have to review it. And they're not being able to review it at the best potential for the game, basically.
Yeah, that's the thing with game reviews, though. Like you can't always base your game because these guys have more work to do, right? They have to do more reviews, but they can't put. For instance, if you want to get a good idea of, for instance, let's say Pokemon, right? Well, in about 20 hours, if you're quick, you can get through most of the content. Some people. Yeah, it can be faster, but if you're even casually playing, it takes like 20 hours. If you want to get the most out of Bravely Default, there's a narrative-driven New Game Plus in there. There's actually a reason to play that game 5 times in a row, and it takes like a couple of hundreds of hours. So, and for instance, if you have a game like Papers, Please, that takes maybe half an hour to play until you get the gist of it, until you get the message that the game is trying to convey. So... it's like reviewing games is just hard, and not all games should use the same scale. That's also a problem. We're using the same like archaic out of 10 scale or out of 100% scale that we got from school tests, basically. But in a school test, a 5 is not average. A 5 is a failing grade. In a 1 to 10 grading system, a 5 should be average. And Destructoid, a very well-known game review site, has actually done an article on this where they said R5 is not a failing grade. R5 is exactly average, and more of the game developers, game reviewers, should take this kind of approach, or even ditch the scale entirely and go like, you should buy this, you should not buy this. A lot of reviewers actually do
like
this at this point.
Eurogamer has done, with like recommended or avoid or essential, basically. Like,
yeah, exactly.
That's a lot better, actually. But those type of, like, reviewing games in general can be very controversial in that type of aspect, because there's oftentimes, if you've ever seen any like Steam reviews or anything like that, there's oftentimes they pick like the best comments, or they'll have like bots or whatever say, hey, this game is good, get it, type of thing. And it's kind of very clickbaity. They kind of coaxed you into getting it because, surprise, surprise, they've probably been bought off by whatever company or game developer has been trying to push the game on to consumers. So those type of things can be very tricky at times, knowing who is I'm looking for the word, not biased, very
objective.
Very objective. And like, objectivity is a very crucial thing when it comes to reviewing games. And oftentimes you can say like it's a common sense of the consumer to know or to pick and choose, but there's oftentimes, I don't have time for that. Nobody got nobody got time for all that nonsense all the time.
On the other hand, like there are so many reviewers, like these game reviewers, right? Especially the freelance ones. Take for instance a more controversial one like Jim Sterling, for instance, right?
Yep.
He's been the target of controversy about this. Is game reviewers get sent review copies or even review consoles or review hardware, and the people who read those reviews are like, well, you're biased to saying good things about it, and you're not objective anymore. You're being bought off. And some reviewers actually do this. A lot of them don't and stay objective and are honest about the thing. But these people, these game reviewers, especially the freelance ones, they have to pay for the games they review themselves. They have to pay for the consoles they review themselves. And game reviewing is not a lucrative, it's not really a lucrative job. It doesn't pay that well.
So you need to take pride and passion in it, but then some of the ones that are actually taking the lucrative parts of it are the ones that are very, very scummy, in my own opinion. But hey,
there are a lot of YouTubers. I believe PewDiePie was even at some point reviewing the Xbox One. And I don't know. I don't think it was PewDiePie, but there was this very big YouTube channel who reviewed this, like the Xbox One. And instead of going, being transparent and putting like, this review was sponsored by Xbox or something like that, right? Yeah. At least leave it transparent, because even a sponsored review can kind of give an idea, like a concept of the console you're about to buy, give you kind of a tour of the thing, that kind of thing. But like highlight its features. But that's not an unbiased review. We want, if you want to do that, at least be honest in there and go like, okay, this review is sponsored by Microsoft. A lot of game review outlets actually say if it's a sponsored review or not, if they got the game as a review copy, or if they decided to review it themselves, or if they got an early build, which is also a problem. Maybe the game reviewers are actually reviewing an earlier build of the game that the consumer doesn't get to play.
That type of early access situation again, yeah.
No, not really early access, but they're actually getting sent a review copy that hasn't that the newest patch hasn't been applied to yet, basically.
Okay. Like
so, it's basically a pre-release game that they're playing. So there might be some bugs or some issues in there that get fixed before the game actually gets released.
Yeah.
The thing with Assassin's Creed Unity, I believe, was the fact that the embargo on that piece of software was like after the release date. So the reviewers couldn't even comment on how buggy the game was without breaking the NDA and basically getting sued. Well, anyway, if you guys don't like hook in, anything else more to say?
I actually had a whole opinion about.
Oh, go ahead, by all means.
Review. I personally do not believe in those game reviews. Most of the time, they say professional game reviewers, but I don't find them that professional because they only have a set given time to review this thing. They get the game and they're like, okay, review this in like 1.5 hours. So
no, it doesn't work that way though.
Well, in some
and besides, that is the sole definition of being a professional game reviewer.
I mean, you don't get the full potential of the game by playing it through. But my problem is like games are personal preference. So a reviewer can't really dictate what you should and shouldn't like. So when I pick out a game, I use Metacritic for.
Metacritic is even worse.
Well, I use the score as a sort of guideline. I don't use it to solve. Oh wait, this has a Metacritic score of 50, so it sucks. So I just
no, but that's even using it as a guideline is kind of a moot point because you're still basing it off of these outlets that you consider not having played the game to its true potential.
You got a point there, but like, if you find a game and it has a pretty high Metacritic, like Fallout 4, I mean everybody knows that game by now. And then just check out a few gameplay videos on YouTube to see if it's right for you. It's
if I may give my 2 cents about actually taking reviews into account if you want to buy or decide to buy a game or not. There's one thing you should do. Pick a few reviewers that have the same taste as you. Not necessarily the same judgment, but the same taste. And they like the same type of games. Well, okay, go follow them. And if they review a game and if they like it to a sufficient point where they would play more of it, then go play it yourself.
Yeah.
That's actually a good point. I use just check out Steam, what's on sale or whatever, and just look at the scores and the reviews. And all right, it's somewhat positive, but I still check it out even if it has a lot of negative reviews, because that game may not be right for them, but it might be right for me. So that's my whole opinion. I don't really believe in the whole reviewing thing.
Well, there's also another method you could use that I actually use personally, because I usually what I do is I buy a game and I think of it kind of like a mini game where I buy a game and I give it like a mental score, and then I go online to see what the reviews are like and did I get close to the review, kind of. But if you want to actually hear honest opinions about games, you should get the cynical type reviews like Zero Punctuation does, like Total Biscuit does. You want to get the very cynical reviews because they're used to shitting on games and they will shit on every game, but they will highlight the positive point. And for instance, where you take Zero Punctuation, where Yahtzee Croshaw actually said, okay, the only thing I have nothing negative to say about is Portal 2. That's basically it. But
wow.
And he's reviewed a lot of games, so every time he does pick a topic to shit on, like every single time, and that's good because it highlights the negatives, but he also gives out the positives, and does it in a funny style, so you can actually get some fun for watching it as well.
All right, I'll definitely check those out.
I think like that's a huge difference between, for example, Metacritic, which is like a site gathered with the scores from like different reviewers, like all these kind of different reviewers, and then gathered up into one score, versus going on, for example, like YouTube, like you said, Dennis, and finding like one specific YouTuber that are cynical and have like the same kind of games that you have and stuff like that, and actually listening to them instead of going to the site which has just gathered all these different reviewers' opinions and then giving it a score, basically.
I'll be honest, I think
Yeah.
Metacritic is like inherently bad anyway, but there are
Yeah.
even companies hiring developers these days that say, okay, we won't hire you if you haven't made a game that's worked on a game that's gotten a Metacritic review of 75 or higher. And that is so
Jesus.
much bullshit because a lot of Metacritic reviews, or reviews in general, just go down with like the gameplay element or the bugginess. But you could be, for instance, an asset developer, like a 3D modeler or something, and you've made the greatest models ever, but your game will get shit on because the mechanics are bad, or because it's very buggy, or because it had a crappy release, or the servers were down. And you could have worked on something that was a masterpiece, but because of other people's work, it turned out badly. So that's why, like, especially companies taking Metacritic seriously, people taking Metacritic seriously is kind of a problem in my eyes.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, you do raise a point because, like Julie said, it's just like multiple reviewers, like 50 reviewers or something, and those combined scores make one giant score. But if only one reviewer is like, okay, this is not my style of game and it's shit, then he basically throws the score down based on his own preference and
Yeah.
brings the entire
Yeah.
score down.
For instance,
Exactly.
I actually have a very good example of reviews doing things badly or conveying the essence of a game badly. And it's actually a very recent example. Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, was
Great game.
released. Oh, wait a second here. It was released to critical acclaim. It got perfect scores. It actually had the highest video game score on Metacritic ever.
Wow, holy shit.
Yeah, up until that point. But until at that point, nobody had gotten to the end of the game yet. Nobody had seen the writing. Nobody had seen the fact that a lot of content was just blatantly cut because there wasn't enough development time left. And that's how that turned into a whole fiasco where people are like, yeah, it's a perfect score, but I think the game is much worse. Personally, me as well, I think the game is good. And it's a great game. It's not a great Metal Gear game, and it does not deserve a perfect score. High 90s, sure, but not a perfect score. It did things wrong.
Yeah.
Well, if you're not like a regular to the Metal Gear Solid, I don't think if it's a great game to get to know the whole Metal Gear Solid.
On the contrary, it's one of the least story-based games, so it's actually one of the best games to kind of get acquainted, and it's also very early in the actual storyline of Metal Gear before it got all fucked up.
Oh right.
Fucked up in a good way though. Like chaotic, more like.
I figure because there isn't a huge storyline in the game, you don't get to get acquainted with the huge history of Metal Gear. So I was doubting if it's a great step-up game for Metal Gear Solid.
It is actually, and a lot of people have played the game and gone through and like, okay, I kind of like this, or I don't like the story at all, and I like Metal Gear Solid 5 for the gameplay. In that case, go play something else.
All right, yeah.
If you liked it for the story, then by all means, like if you liked the small bit of story that was in there, then you're in for a treat. Because there's way more than that came from, maybe even a little bit too much. Metal Gear Solid 4 still holds the record for longest cutscene ever.
How long was it?
I think 48 minutes, and then it loaded up another 16.
Holy shit!
Holy shit!
Oh dear, that's a little bit more.
Oh, by the way, that's also one of the reasons that the game wasn't released on more platforms than just the PlayStation 3, is because it wouldn't fit on a single disc. And Kojima explicitly said, I want the game to be able to fit on a single disc.
Because reasons.
Yeah, just a random factoid, being the Metal Gear fanboy that I am, or the Kojima fanboy more like. So, just a random factoid in there.
Fair enough.
All right, I think we've actually exhausted all the topics for this week. So
Yeah.
Let's take a break, and we'll see you on the other side. Welcome, everybody. We're back. I hope you enjoyed your break. We sure did. A lot of discussion in the break. I don't know why. We should actually keep it for the podcast. But we're all ready to move on to the new releases for this week. So, Jeffrey, take it away.
All right, so like each week, I'm going to list the games in order of release date, and we have quite a few games released. Well, actually this week, and so let's have a look-see, a gander, if you will, shall we? Games that will be released on February the 23rd are Tokitori 2 Plus for the PS4, Far Cry Primal for the Xbox One and PS4.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I knew I was going to get a response to that one. I just knew it.
The thing is, it's a very hyped up game, and I'm seriously wanting to play it. I'm just not sure if I should. I'm not sure if I should get it, because I didn't quite like Far Cry 4, except for the thing it did with the secret ending. And Far Cry 3 was kind of a disappointment, in and of itself, because I thought it would be a game more for me, but it sure as hell wasn't. So I'm not sure what I should think about this. Though I do know you get to ride a bear, so I gotta have this game.
That's awesome. And,
at some point, I am gonna get it just because you can ride a bear. That's so my thing.
Well, maybe you can see the game as a redemption.
Maybe. I'll give it a shot at some point, just not release.
Yeah, maybe wait till the price dropped a bit or on a sale, whatever.
Yeah, I think I'll wait for a sale.
But yeah, to continue the list, we also have Bit Trip presents Runner 2: Future Legend of Rhythm Alien for the PS4.
Jesus Christ, what a title!
Yeah.
I thought so too when I saw it.
Sounds like a Japanese happy fun time, mega explosion, definition explosion.
Director's cut.
That. We also got Hitman Go Definitive Edition for the PC, Vita, and PS4. Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2 for the PS4. I don't know what to think of that. Garden Warfare.
Yeah, it is a pun. The first game, actually, from what I heard, was actually quite good. So they might it might be good, it might be bad. I'm not sure, but the name I sure think is funny. Come on, Garden Warfare.
Yeah. We also got Agatha Christie, The ABC Murders for the PS4. I think that's based on the actual show, isn't
it? Might be. I haven't heard of it. I haven't really.
Or the books? I don't know.
Yeah, Agatha Christie is some kind of detective thing, just like Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, detective novels.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So yeah, it's either based on the show or the books. I don't know, but sounds interesting.
By the way, a little segue here. Speaking about detective work, last week I recommended a game to you guys, Danganronpa, and you have all not played it. It was actually
I know about it though, so I mean, no.
I mean, it was 20. It released and was already 20% off as a release sale, and you guys didn't get it. Come on. But didn't even play the fan translation. Come on, people.
I'm sorry, senpai.
I already saw the playthrough of the first game already.
No, it's so different from playing it yourself.
I don't know. I get the same sense of completion though.
No, you don't.
Poor Dennis.
All right, next release.
Knock Knock for the Vita.
Who's there?
David Dennis.
All right.
Ninja Sankai DX for the PS4 and Vita. Replay VHS is not dead for the PS4. I don't know what to think of that. VHS is not dead. I think it's pretty much dead already, but whatever. So those were the games released on the 23rd of February. So let's move on. Games released on the 25th. We have Sadame for the 3DS. 6180 The Moon for the Wii U. Ironically, Assassin's Creed Identity for the iPhone and iPad. Didn't Ubisoft say no AC games this year?
No mainline AC games. The team's working on the games working on the Liberation titles, and the mobile games is a different team from the team that's actually working on the main games.
All right. Well, then we got Inside My Radio for the Wii U, and the last not but least games for the 27th of February, which I'm sure a lot of people are super excited for. probably the best releases this week for a lot of people with the 3DS. Pokemon Red, Blue, and a Pokemon Yellow Special Pikachu Edition, ladies and gentlemen.
My body is ready.
Ooh.
I figured it might.
This will tide us over for Pokemon Go, I hope.
Yeah, they're doing a very big announcement when it comes to Pokemon very soon. The thing is, what I'm looking forward to is this release has been hyped for a lot of people. Everybody with 3DS is probably getting it because it's $10. It's $10, so everybody's getting it. Everybody wants to. Yeah, it's super cheap, and they've like, as we talked about before on the podcast, there's wireless trading and battling functionality. So what I'm looking forward to is like everybody, like every single 3DS owner buying the game, and like Pokemon making some kind of weird first gen reinsurgence all across the world. That's what I want to see.
That's I think that's what a lot of people are looking for in the game. But yeah, those were the game releases for this week.
All right. Well, in that case, let's take it over to news articles, because we don't have a lot of news, but that's not bad. That's not a bad thing. That just means it was a slow week, so not too much bad shit has happened. So,
no news is good
say,
news.
Well, sometimes, like most of the times, I try to pick the more positive news out there, but we don't always have a choice, do we? So, let's see. I am going to open the news articles because I forgot to do that beforehand. Shut up. Where is it actually? Where did I put it? There we go. We have 4 articles this week. And the first one is Assassin's Creed book, Last Descendant, will release this year, and I'm going to pass this over to Julie.
Yes, so the Assassin's Creed Last Descendants is a new book series that's coming this year. It's going to be in the 1860s New York City and the Spanish conquest of the Aztecs, which is like the plot, basically. And the first book, is called Last Descendants, and it's basically a teenage novel. It's targeted towards the readers for like ages 12 and upwards, and the series is aimed at Assassin's Creed novices as well as longtime fans.
Assassin's Creed Twilight, people.
Oh my god, I hope not.
Like,
instead of a vampire versus a werewolf, we now have an assassin going against a Templar. I'm fucking calling
it. Well, I'm not going to spoil too much, but it's basically like, yeah, action and, you know, school.
How can you spoil it? How can you spoil it? You haven't even read the book.
No, but the plot is here in the article. So
yeah, but I'm pretty sure that is probably the same plot summary you get at the back of the book.
Yeah, no.
They wouldn't spoil
like it, but
they
maybe,
wouldn't spoil the entire game. The entire game. See, wow, the entire book in that article. I hope not, because that would be a weird move on their part.
True. But the entire plot is listed here. Anyways, I'm kind of hyped for this because I work at a bookstore, and the Assassin's Creed book series by Oliver Bowden, which is another author from The Last Descendants. I mean, his books are incredibly popular, and obviously they're the main ones basically, and they're targeted for adults. But this new series, The Last Descendants, will be targeted for teenagers, and I think that's really interesting because I think that it's definitely going to be a popular series.
They're sure making up for not releasing a mainline game this year, though.
Yeah, true.
We've already had a new Assassin's Creed Liberation title, and we're getting a book, so it's not like you can't get your Assassin's Creed fix this year.
Definitely.
Let's take it to the next news article, and I will be taking this one myself. Is Kojima has expressed an interest in VR technology, especially concerning horror games. Now, this is from an article, and I should say that the article has a very misleading title. He says, "Displeasure for VR projects" is the headline. But the only thing he actually expressed displeasure about is about the fact that the pricing issue is so weird, because people complain about the price, but they don't know what hardware goes into it, and the fact that he had severe motion sickness with the first couple of builds of the Oculus Rift and whatever kind of VR headsets they're testing. So, but that's better now, and he has certainly expressed interest in VR technology. So what I'm hoping is that this whole Guillermo del Toro, there we go, I got it.
Oh, that's good, actually. He's a well-known director.
Yeah, and he also, this is not in the news article itself, but he did also express interest in still working with our good friend Norman Reedus.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
He's
excited.
what's his name again? The character from The Walking Dead. Come
Oh,
Give it to me.
Rick?
No, not Rick.
Daryl?
No, Daryl. There you go.
Daryl, yes.
There we go.
And
the
he
guy-
he plays Murphy, Murphy in my favorite movie of all time, The Boondock Saints.
Yeah. That is such a good movie, by the way.
That is my favorite movie ever.
Yeah.
But enough gushing about guys here. The reason I picked this news article is the fact that this might actually be a very promising news. It gives us some kind of sight into the future where Kojima might actually use his writing talent, because we all have to admit sometimes he makes weird decisions for his game. But he does have writing talent when it comes to writing scripts and writing storylines. He's one of the greatest minds we've ever seen, in my opinion, at least. And that will translate very, very well into horror games, especially VR experiences.
Yeah.
All right. So the next news article we're going to tackle today is Fallout 4 DLC announced. The season pass actually became a top seller on Steam as soon as it was announced. And this news article goes to Jeffrey.
Well, so we saw the Bethesda tweet about the revamp they were going to make, and that's some new survival features like hunger and radiation. And well, I gotta tell you, my body is ready. I bought the season pass a few days ago, actually, and I'm really excited for it. So what they're going to add is a few DLC packs, which I'm gonna list and what they kind of are about. So the first one is Automatron, and it's an add-on in which you can create your own robot, which sounds pretty awesome. You can choose from hundreds of mods, mixing limbs, armors, abilities, and weapons, like a new chain gun, which sounds even way more awesome, and even customize their paint schemes and choose their voices. So
Beep boop, I'm the fucker upper 9001.
it sounds so awesome, and I can't wait. We also got Wasteland Workshop, which allows you to create creatures from raiders to deathclaws, tame them, or have them face off in battle, even against your own fellow settlers. So you can basically TK your own team.
What? I can tame a raider? That sounds really weird.
I can Michael fix some dogs. Nice, man. That's good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
because you don't have a dog in Fallout already.
Which actually becomes your partner in like the first 10 minutes of the game. Well,
Yeah.
actually, maybe not 10 minutes, but before and half an hour has passed.
Yeah, like it's literally you walk out of the first town and the first thing you see is the dog.
Yeah.
Well, you walk out of the bunker and then, you get the dog.
No, you don't. No, you don't walk out of the vault. You walk out of the first town because you meet him by the gas station.
Oh, yeah, right.
He gets into a fight with some mole rats.
Oh, yeah. It's such a shame you can't rename him.
No, but his name has been like consistent throughout the entire series, and I think it suits him.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I mean, he's always been named Dogmeat. Come on.
Yeah, true. It's still a badass name, but like if you're like the whole customization thing, it would be sweet to be able to change the name. But for
why would you change the name of a companion? I mean, you can't change the name of other companions.
Good point. But then again, most people who can change anything will change anything.
Plus, the thing is, because of Fallout 4 being very having a lot of voiced lines and a voiced protagonist, you can't really voice all those names again. I mean, there was this whole thing where they recorded like more than 500 names for the intro sequence, like with character creation. When you put in your name, the Vault-Tec rep will actually, and your wife will actually, and Codsworth even will actually refer to you by the name that you put in, if you put in one of the names that was on that list.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine them doing that again for like a dog. I don't think so. I mean, people name their dog the stupidest shit these days.
True. Very, very.
I mean, where were the days that a dog would be called Sparky or Fido, and now it's like Captain Snugglesworth or something like that? Holy shit, people. Especially Americans are guilty of this. I have nothing against Americans, but you guys give your cats and dogs weird names.
They even give their kids weird names, so it's nothing new.
Well, so do Europeans. Let's be honest here.
Good point. And to continue on with the article, the last expansion pack is Far Harbor, and Far Harbor features the largest landmass for an add-on that Bethesda, as they say themselves, has ever created, filled with new faction quests, settlements, lethal creatures, and dungeons. And you can become more powerful and actually exceed the level cap. But I don't see how that's possible.
There is no level cap in Fallout 4.
Actually, there is. 63,502 is the level cap.
How would you? Oh my god! How would you even care about exceeding that? Like, holy shit! You have all the perks by that point. Nothing's going up anymore.
Yeah, true. But it's still a fun, a nice.
It's weird that they feel that they have to announce that, right? That means that from their focus testing, apparently someone reached that max level at some point.
Well, it actually was. I think someone discovered it from the game code. It's not actually announced by Bethesda themselves that that's the level cap.
So why would they announce that they like extend the level cap if that is all? If it already is like 65,000 something.
Well, the description clearly says become more powerful with new higher level. So
I think that might mean new perks.
That could also be implied, but it's kind of, No,
we don't know much about it yet. So,
and best of all, till March, the 1st of March, the season pass is only $29.99 instead of the $49.99 they're going to charge afterwards, I think.
Yeah, this is, by the way, something that's a little less positive, though still kind of fair. The thing is, Bethesda has announced that their season pass will be increasing in price. You'll still be saving money, but I think it's until March that you can buy, until the first expansion releases, that you can get the expansion pass for the old price, which is $30 as opposed to $50. So if you want to get that season pass, do it now.
And that's exactly what I did. So yeah, I'm super excited about this, and like I said, my body is ready.
All right, so the next news article we have, and actually the last one, is the HTC Vive pre-orders open on February 29th, and they're priced at $799. You take this one, JJ. It's all up to you.
Okay, cool. Well, as your voice already said, you can pre-order these puppies at $800 a pop. I wouldn't know how that exchange rate would be for any other country. And you can order them from 24 different HTC providers. We will be United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Germany, France, Austria, Belgium, Czech Republic, Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Italy, Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Spain, Switzerland, Ireland, Sweden, Taiwan, China, Japan, and New Zealand.
So basically everywhere except for the Middle East.
Pretty much.
And Africa.
Yeah, pretty much. pretty much. It is a bit pricier from in comparison to the Rift, which is $599. But I think it kind of outweighs the fact that it's a very good quality program, very good quality. It comes with a whole lot of different additives and stuff like that, and you actually get 2 free games with it, which is the Job Simulator 2050 and the other second
Fantastic Contraption.
Yeah, and Fantastic Contraption also comes with it, which is actually pretty good.
So what I can see is that the minimum graphic card recommendation for this
is a NVIDIA GeForce and AMD Radeon.
Well, it's a GTX 970 or Radeon R9 290, which is about the same as the Oculus Rift, I believe.
Which is I think the
NVIDIA is exactly the same even, but for those $200 extra, you do have the actual hand controls.
No.
And this segues very well into a news article I forgot to list. But, and some of you guys will love this, especially you, Johnny, I guess.
Okay.
There's actually a studio. I am going to look up the studio right now, because this is going to be, well, maybe not a surprise, but it's hype. It's hype. All right, hold on. I am going to pull up the article to make sure I don't misquote anything. Let's see. A second here.
But seeing as Kojima is going to be working on a project like this relatively soon, it's going to be pretty interesting seeing how these type of games are going to be developed in the future. I'm pretty excited about it.
Well, if you're excited for that, then you should be excited for this. Nice segue. See there. See what I did there? IBM Japan has announced Sword Art Online: The Beginning, a virtual reality project that aims to realize the world of the popular Sword Art Online light novel series.
Oh, that sounds good, actually.
Okay, so this the article is basically a teaser trailer in which some of the game's assets are shown. It's fairly simple. It takes footage from the anime and some original footage and some footage of the game's assets being developed. It's very much a teaser trailer. So the rest of the article is as follows. Rather than use a controller, the game will be played by moving your body. Reiki Kawahara, the creator of the Sword Art Online series, calls it completely different from any game experience so far. The project uses a next-generation computing system called the Cognitive System that supports human decision-making, as well as SoftLayer, IBM's high-performance cloud system that produces the ambience of a real world. At the official website, IBM are taking applications until March the 4th for a prototype alpha test to be held between March 18th and March 20th in Tokyo. A total of 208 applicants will be accepted. So, what this implies is that 208 people are going to get trapped.
Yeah, basically, like they're people who are just going to be locked into the game.
Yeah,
which is insane. I like it.
The thing is, like, I discussed this with a friend like a while back. Like, this is one of the first games they should totally be developing for that for VR systems is a Sword Art Online game. Because as soon as you see Sword Art Online popping up, and you see, okay, it's gonna be VR game, you're gonna get like, you're not genuinely scared, but you're still kind of hesitant. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. You don't want to get your soul locked into a game, man. That's not cool.
Hey, wait. Hey, speak for yourself.
Depends on the game, though.
That is true.
I would fucking love to be trapped in Hello Kitty Island Adventure or something like that.
But maybe not Bloodborne.
Well, I would be immortal. On the other hand, my character does scream like in agony when she gets hit, so I guess it'd still not be a pleasant experience.
True.
But like, not just that, but what I'm actually more interested in about this article, because I'm probably never getting a VR headset, so that doesn't really apply to me. But the fact that it came out is pretty nice. What I'm actually more interested in are these systems they mentioned, the cognitive system that supports human decision making. So what I'm kind of imagining in my head here is like this, like the BioWare decision wheel, but like huge with 360 options on it. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
But cool thing you actually discussed this as well. Recently, a decent amount of developers, if any of you take a look at a YouTube channel called D News, they're actually developing technology where you can feel what you experience in VR on
No,
the
see,
body.
that's where it gets creepy.
And like hopefully in the future, right now they've only developed like the sensation of like when something brushes past you, or like if you're immersed in like grassy area or whatever, you feel like the blades of grass like brisk across you. But then they'll up it to where you can feel temperature, where you can feel like mild electrical sensations, where it can give you a simulation of like high winds and stuff like that. And that's kind of cool to see how that would be incorporated in this whole immersible experience.
I'm not. I don't think that's something they're gonna do, because they do want to give it some mainstream appeal.
Am I the only one who's thinking porn?
There's actually there's
there's
a project. There's a crowdfunded project for that. They actually already released a trailer. They made this fleshlight-esque device, and it's male focused as expect.
Yeah,
and it's this fleshlight like device that has like that can adjust its grip and stuff like that, and you can squirt lubricant into it and just go to town while you have your headset on, and just go to town on one of your favorite video game characters. They even include a free SDK which you can use to create your own character. I'm serious.
it's like build your own girlfriend.
Basically. Yeah, but the thing is, like, okay, at some point we have this thing where porn, let's be realistic here, has been a pioneer of so many technologies up until this point. Like we have things like VHS, Betamax, all that kind of thing. The HD DVD versus Blu-ray, the DVD versus the what was it? DVD versus something else. It eludes me at this point, but basically the porn industry is very much an early adopter for a lot of projects, a lot of new technologies, and they give a lot of these things the marketing push they need to get mainstream adoption. Like a good example, which is not even remotely true, but is a good joke to kind of like an analogy, is like that image where you see a lot of phones lined up, and then at some point there's an arrow that says, at this moment we realized we could watch porn on the cell phone, and the screen just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah, and that is it's far from true, of course, but it is a nice analogy here. If like VR gets some kind of application in the porn industry and the adult industry, like in general, there could be huge potential for this. I know for a fact that a couple of people from IGN were actually invited for a demo, like by, I don't know which studio exactly, but there was this you were actually invited to go lie down, and you had this VR headset on. I don't know which one, but you had a VR headset on, and there would be like a porn show happening. So you actually had two of them. They were focused towards both males and females. Though every single female actually said this was far from arousing, this was scary, because this is one of the women's biggest fears, is lying there hopeless while huge, burly, muscled men are doing stuff to you and you can't actually move.
Okay.
So I can get, that's still a hurdle we have to overcome, I guess. See what I did there? But at some point, we're going to have to realize that, as immature as it may sound, the porn is going to give VR a huge push if it catches on.
Yeah, indeed.
And I think that actually it might at some point it might decide between which one of the VR headsets we will be using for like mainstream appliances. So like for gaming or watching movies or something like that.
That wouldn't surprise me, no.
Exactly. Well, this is all the news articles we have for this week. So we closed off with a very nice discussion on porn.
Sorry.
The technology.
We are far from sorry. But I mean, it was a very mature discussion, I believe.
Yes.
Yes, we were for a change. We were actually civil and polite.
True.
Well,
Very true.
Yeah, well, I believe this is all we have for this week. So I want to remind everyone that this podcast was brought to you by GetGaming.net. Be sure to check them out. There are a lot of live streams on there, so if you like watching certain games, you could always see if there's a game that you like up. I stream my Bloodborne on there. It's you can also find it on my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/dvoice. You can find me on Twitter at dvoice_. That's basically it. Oh yeah, you can add me on PSN under dvoice hacks. Be sure to actually mention that you're from the podcast, because I don't add random people, but if you know me from the podcast, just mention that and I'll add you without a second thought. So how about you guys? What do you have where we can follow your every move?
I'm feeling stalked. Nah, in all seriousness, you can follow me on Twitter at oimadewtf with 2 underscores. I stream a lot of Counter-Strike Global Offensive on my Twitch channel, which can be found at twitch.tv/AutopsyGremlin. And I have a YouTube with the same alias. If you want to play with me on Steam, you can find me on steamcommunity.com/id/AutopsyGremlin. Do mention, though, indeed, like Dennis said, that you're from the podcast, because I don't add random people. And that was it for me.
All right, Julie.
Well, you can find me on Twitter at SyriaXO if you want to chat or give me a message. And if you want to play with me, you can find me on Steam Community. My ID is the Syria. So yeah.
All right, GG.
Mine is at Dangs Pro. Twitch is Darkest JMR. And my Facebook page is The Dangs Productions. There you can find me and contact me.
All right. So with that, I would like to say goodbye to all you fine listeners. Have a nice week, and we'll be back next week on Monday. That's something we should, by the way, mention. The podcast is now being recorded on a Monday, so it might be up a little later than you might expect. So with that said, all of you have a nice week and do play your video games. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.